on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now. So ladies and gents, we are here yet again at locals. I'm actually late. I've got a round one loss. My daughter had a gym competition this morning, so I couldn't make it to locals on time, but nevertheless we're going anyway just to get some testing in, just to get a bit of practice in. There are a few OTS championships coming up, as well as a potential regional that I might participate in, so this is just all good testing, to be honest. And I wanted to actually bring Goatee, but because I was in such a rush, I didn't have actually time to just finish my build and kind of like perfect the side deck, so I decided to leave that at home and bring the good old trusted branded Despia. So we're gonna jump in. We're actually at Asgard today. I just had to think about that then. Yeah, we're at Asgard today and it's a Sunday, so we're gonna see how we get on, ladies and gents. Like I said, I've got a round one loss, so probably not gonna be able to win the tournament, but hopefully I can just do a good showing from here on out, and we'll see how things go, ladies and gents, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace. So coming into round number 2, ladies and gents, and I'm faced up against Exo Sisters, a deck that I've somewhat built and I'm probably interested in playing, especially in the current meta. But I was a little bit stubborn in this game, and you'll see why in a moment, ladies and gents. So I believe I win the die roll and I opt to go second. Now obviously you know that my deck is more optimized to go second, but it can go first. But I went second and he absolutely opened the nuts. I'm talking about D Fisher, way to see Exo Sister Martha, and it just meant that he could just facilitate a load of his plays and not really burn too much resources. I think he got a draw off Sophia as well, and it was just literally all she wrote. Like, I couldn't get anything going and I didn't have the best of hands, and he basically just kind of just took his time, just dwindled me out of resources and just kind of like kept attacking me for game. Going into game 2, this is where the problem lies. I was a little bit stubborn. Again, I knew what Exo Sisters do. Sorry, I know what Exo Sisters do, but I still opted or decided to go second, which was a bit of my downfall, to be honest, because it meant that he just basically got to pop off again. And Exo Sisters are typically a control deck. They find it difficult to play through boards, and I knew this for some reason. I just didn't like follow through with it. So he went first, set up a crazy board again, had D Fisher again as a one-of, managed to open it yet again, which was crazy. I believe he had like Imperm, he had Martha. Like, I just could not establish any kind of board, and again he just kept banishing stuff. And then obviously Exo Sister Magnifica just does just a whole load of damage by herself anyway, so I was in a bit of a pickle. Couldn't really do much, couldn't really get my engine going, and I kind of deserved to lose, you know, mainly because I kind of just assumed that my going second engine could just basically break a control deck board, which it can in certain situations, but knowing what the deck did, I should have definitely went first, so I took the L on this one. Okay, ladies and gents, end of round 2. Obviously I got R1 loss, and then I just got absolutely demolished by Exo Sisters. I was a little bit naive, to be honest. I don't know what I was thinking going second in game 2, because I know Exo Sisters have a hard time breaking boards, especially with trying to resolve Martha effect. If I had Mirror Jade on board, I could have just banished a lot of their monsters, but I'd opted to go second. The reason why I wanted to go second mainly is because I wanted to see a few more cards. I wouldn't say I've messed with my deck, but my count seems a bit weird. I'm running into a lot of situations where I'm seeing a lot of spells and not seeing a lot of monsters. I want to see a bit of an even mix of both, but nevertheless, it is what it is sometimes. Yu-Gi-Oh! You are bound to brick, and we're definitely not going to top now. I've lost 2 games, but like I said, I'm only here for some testing, so we're going to see how we get on, ladies and gents. Just want to see if I can stretch the deck a little bit more. There are some Shizuti elements, but because of my standing at the moment, I don't think I'm going to get a chance to test against those decks, mainly because they tend to find themselves on a top table, so yeah. But anyway, I will catch you on the next one. Peace. So coming into round 3, ladies and gents, I'm playing up against Dark Magicians. Believe it or not, I did not think I'd see this deck in 2022 as a pure variant, but hey ho, we are here now. Unfortunately, my opponent did not open the best and ended on a board of, I believe it was Timaeus, the United Dragon. I think he ashed my Aluba, which was my first effect, but I did have Branded Fusion in hand, so I proceeded to just do Branded Fusion things. I actually made Quertus as well as Albion as well as Dragoon. And then obviously Cortez can just blank the attack of the Team Ice United Dragon because it's not a level 8 or higher fusion monster, and I'll just attack for game. Going into game 2 of round 3, my opponent went first. He set up quite a formidable board, to be honest. I think he ended on a Dragoon and some other stuff, and in my turn he actually debarriered me, which was horrible. So I couldn't really do much, to be honest. Oh no, sorry, he didn't make Dragoon, he debarriered me, and then he proceeded to make Dragoon on his turn, but he blew a lot of his hand in order to do so. So he did make Dragoon. He made it with, I think, 1 pop because he used the Dark Magician. So he popped one of my cards and he attacked for some damage, but he had no cards left in hand, and I believe I had a Branded Fusion or I had access to Aluba. So I literally just went off, just did full combo. I think I banished his Dragoon with Mirror Jade and then just had enough damage for game, basically. And that was all she wrote, ladies and gents. So taking that one, a swift 2-0. Coming into round 4, ladies and gents, and I am up against Floowandereeze, a deck that is very, very close to my heart. I just love the way that this deck plays. A lot of people hate Floowandereeze, and I know I've said it on the channel before, but I really do enjoy the fact that it just does its own thing. It's not like any deck that's out there, and it's very, very competitive. I believe in the YCS Dortmund that Floowandereeze was actually in the top 32, so it doesn't surprise me that the deck is keeping up its own in a meta full of Ishizu 2 elements. But anyway, going into game 1, I actually got Rivalry of the Warlord, which was just absolutely crazy. It was just there's nothing I could do. I had Rivalry of the Warlord up, as well as Floowandereeze and Empen on the field, and I'd normal summon my Aluba. Obviously I don't run any fairies in the extra deck in this variant, so I was literally stuck. There was nothing I could do, and I couldn't draw into any of my Branded Fusions. He also had the Wind Barrier statue on field. I literally just could not play the game, so I had to scoop it up. Game 2, I went first, and I managed to make Masquerade, and I managed to get rid of 1 or 2 of his monsters. Oh, sorry, I Forbidden Droplets his Eaglin, and then he decided to go into another Eaglin to try and search, but obviously you can only use the effect once per turn, which he'd already done so. So I just slow rolled him to death, basically, and anytime he activated anything, Masquerade was just burning the life away from him until I eventually just kind of like won for game. Going into game 3, I believe I was going second, and I had Lightning Storm in my opener. Now I think somebody hit the camera or something, so it went a little bit funny, but I think what happened was I normal summoned my Aluba, and I believe I beat over his barrier statue, and then I used Super Poly in the battle phase to fuse off his Empen as well as his Eaglin, which meant that I could go into Garura. And then do a little bit more damage. I eventually found myself into a Mirror Jade, and he resolved a few effects and decided to get rid of the Mirror Jade. I believe he beat over it with Empen or something like that, or he could have potentially tributed it off with the wins, the Floowandereeze continuous spell card. Can't think of its name at the moment, but when that happened, obviously Mirror Jade just wiped the field, and I was just left with too much advantage then, and then I just managed to basically slow roll my way to victory. So all in all, a lovely match against Floowandereeze, a deck that I do really enjoy playing against, and yeah, catch you on the next one. So, coming into the 5th and final round, and I am paired up against none other than Floowandereeze yet again. And a little bit of a tip, ladies and gents. I was speaking to my opponent before the game started, and we was just having a little bit of a chat, just talking about decks and the format and tier 0 and all that kind of stuff, and he kind of let it slip that he was playing Floowandereeze. And soon as I realized he was playing Floowandereeze, I was like, no, I am definitely going to go first if I win the die roll. That's what I said to myself in my head. And funnily enough, I won the die roll, and I managed to set up a few cards. I believe it was like Mirror Jade, and potentially I had Aluba on field. And then I think I went into Albion, and I set up a crazy field. It was just loads of fusion monsters all out. Now I was burning through a lot of my resources, and I did manage to clear loads of my monsters with Floowandereeze and Unexplored Winds, which I did not realize was not a once per turn to be able to tribute over one of your opponent's cards for a monster that requires 2 or more tributes. I was like, oh my days, I did not realize that. So he managed to clear quite a few of my field. In fact, I think my field was gone more or less. But he did manage to tribute over Albion, and Albion was in the graveyard, which meant that I could set my branded in red. And he did actually get rid of my Mirror Jade, which meant that he got a field wipe at the end phase, which meant that his field was open for me to just basically go in and attack. And when I actually set my Albion with my branded in red, I actually used Ad Libitum, and I believe I brought back Dragoon, and it was just all she wrote from there. Going into game 2 of the final round, my opponent decided to do some questionable plays. As he said to me afterwards, he wasn't actually concentrating on what he was doing, because he actually set 2 cards. Then he activated Mystic Mine on his own turn. I was like, huh, okay. And then obviously mine destroyed itself in the end phase, and then it passed over to my turn, and I believe I had Lightning Storm. Now he did de-barrier me, but he had Dimension Shifter in hand, which I was like, why don't you just use the Dimension Shifter, which he just forgot to use. So that was a dead card in his hand, and he did actually de-barrier me for 2 turns in a row. But eventually I got enough cards on field to be able to kind of like just basically take control of the game, and he actually scooped it up, because he was like, you know what, I can't do anything no more, I can't even win. So yeah, all in all, ladies and gents, I beat 2 Floowandereeze today with branded Despia Bestials, so definitely a nice little turnout right there. Okay, ladies and gents, we are back from locals, and boy was it an experience. And the reason I say that is because I actually turned up late. I missed round 1 due to me just trying to get there, and I lost round 2, but I managed to finish in the top 8, which was absolutely crazy. I won all my preceding rounds after that, and I believe I played Dark Magician and 2 Floowandereeze, which was just crazy. And I do really love Floowandereeze, you know. I don't know why. I was saying to some of my friends like locals that I just love the way that the deck plays. It does its own thing, it doesn't copy anybody else. It's really difficult to play through, and I didn't realize that Unexplored Winds was not once per turn to tribute over one of your opponent's cards, which I think is just absolutely blown my mind. But anyway, I'll leave my matchups on screen, ladies and gents. Just a few things to note and a few things to learn, and I always try and go with I always trying to go to locals and just try and learn something new to be able to take into my next tournament. So the thing that I've seen the most, because Ishi's Utilement is literally everywhere, like games are running into time. I've seen 4 games today all be resolved by Cowboy for Game, which was just absolutely ridiculous. And obviously their opponents who lost the Cowboy for Game were a little bit frustrated, but it's something to bear in mind because the chain links go so far. And I know I mentioned this in my previous video, you really need to pay attention to time and have an out or have some kind of interaction to be able to kind of combat your opponent in time, because literally games are going for so long. I seen an Ishi's Utilement turn that lasted for 15 minutes, and that was just basically playing at what could be considered a considerable pace. There was just so many effects, and then obviously when it passes over to your opponent's turn, you can just literally do it all again. So it's just something to bear in mind, ladies and gents. But all in all, it was a really good tournament. I'm glad I topped. It was a little bit surprising to me. Branded Despia still doing things. The way that my deck's designed as well, it is kind of like to try and combat the meta. It's difficult to play against Ishi's Utilement, especially with the shuffling, but with specific reference to just basically playing against the deck, I can somewhat compete with the deck. It's not the strongest, but then again, what is, ladies and gents. But I haven't opened my prize in anyway, so I'm going to leave you with the pack opening. And as always, ladies and gents, you know what to do if you like this content. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.